Hi everyone, it's Amy from Making Space with another creative activity for you all. Today's activity is going to be inspired by Easter. I'm going to show you how to make some really lovely cards and decorations for your Easter celebrations. I'll go through the materials and things that you need first and then we'll get started. So you're going to need some paints. I'm going to use watercolours. If you've got them, that's great. If not, any paint that can be watered down, you want it quite watery. So that'll be fine. So yeah, paints, then you need some water and some paint brushes. I've got two different sizes, a sort of big one and a small one. Then you're going to need some tape. I've got double-sided tape and masking tape. And you might need a glue stick too. Then you're going to need a hole punch, some scissors, a plain white candle, some pens and a pencil, plain paper. If you've got them, some pre-made cards, the ones that sort of pre-folded. If you've not got these, doesn't matter, you can either make your own or you don't have to use them at all. Some wool or string, and finally some nice paper. I've got some really nice sort of textured watercolour paper. If you've got this, that's great. If not, you can just use normal sort of printer copier paper. But this is nicer. So yeah, I think that's everything. So let me clear the decks and then we'll get started. Okay, so you're going to start with your nice paper. It's basically watercolour paper. It's got a nice sort of texture to it, and it's slightly thicker and more absorbent if you're using lots of watery paints, which is why it's great for the activity we're going to do today. So the process that I'm going to use today is inspired by batik, which is a textile process where you use wax as a resist to the ink or the dye that's used on the fabric. And we're going to be using a really simple version but on paper, and that's why you need a candle. I presume most households will probably have a couple of candles lying around. They're great because they're made of wax. You're basically going to use this as the resist for your painting. You can see I've used a penknife just to slightly sharpen the end of mine. You don't need to, you can just use the edge, it's fine. And what you're going to do is you're going to draw a pattern on your paper. So let's make sure it's in view. And obviously you'll notice as I start, the interesting thing is at this stage you can't see anything. Which makes it quite unusual, quite fun, but also is going to kind of make you use your imagination a bit, and also kind of roll with the punches. If it's not exactly how you want, you can't quite control it, so you just kind of got to go with the flow. For this design, I'm just going to do different patterns, so I've kind of got a wavy line. I might do some little lines. Now what you do want to make sure you're doing here is pressing down quite hard. What you want to do is you want to get the wax onto the paper and you want it to cause a resist, which means the dye won't, the ink, paint won't kind of seep into the paper. So if you press really lightly, it's not going to resist the ink, so do press down quite hard. And you can experiment, you know, if the first one's not showing up quite enough, when you do a next one, make sure you press a little more firmly. Now I'm really pressing down quite hard, and I appreciate this bit of the video isn't that exciting because you can't see anything, but I'm nearly there. And obviously you can get really complex with your designs, it's completely up to you. What you can do, if you do want to kind of sort of look, you're probably not going to see it on here, but if you tilt it towards the light, you can just about see the outline, and if you've missed any big spaces, you may then want to sort of go back in with another pattern. But that will do for today. Just lightly brush off the kind of big bits of wax that you've got on your paper. And now it's time to add some colour. So, like I said, I'm going to use my watercolours. So I'm going to use quite a lot of water on my brush. And then we're going to go into a colour. and brush it on. And this is when the kind of magic happens, because your design will start to kind of unveil itself. And this is a great activity for all ages, but I think kids will particularly enjoy this part of it. A really nice family activity to all kind of do together. And you can do whatever colour choices you want to do. You can do it quite pastel and light, or you can go really quite bold. That's completely up to you as the artist. But you can see already the pattern that I drew on with the wax is now showing through. So basically it means that wherever the wax has been, the paint can't get to the paper because it's resisting it. So that's going to stay white, and the rest of the paper that's not had the wax on is going to be coloured. Move that over, oops, so you can really clearly see. And this is when you can see that the watercolour paper is really nice, because it's really picking up that texture of the paper underneath, which I think is really lovely. But like I said, if you've not got it, don't worry. But if you can get hold of some, I think it's much nicer. So you can see with this applying the colour here, I'm just kind of doing it in blocks of kind of colour. But you can apply it however you want. This is when you as the artist can really get creative. These would also be great for just creating really nice papers and textures if you do kind of scrapbooking at home, or make cards normally. Some glue in here. And you can see my patterns were done really quickly. They weren't complex, they were really simple. But actually, when it's all on there, it looks really cool. So don't worry too much. And it's great, you know, if you just give a, you know, your child the candle just to kind of experiment with, you know, you're still going to get a really nice result, even if their lines are a little bit sort of childlike. That's quite nice. So you can see I always had quite a lot of water on my brush. And you can see down here, the colours were more faded, so I used more water, and towards the top, the colours were bolder and stronger. So that's your finished piece. What you want to do with it now is you want to leave it to dry and put it in the sun somewhere, let it dry out completely. So I'm going to move that out of the way. And I've got some other samples that I made earlier to show you. So this is another one, and this was really scribbly, circles, zigzags. So this was one that, say, if a very young child would just kind of scribble, you can still get a really nice result. And I did the colours this time in kind of round circles, so you can kind of see that one. Then we've got this one here, which is very subtle, very pastel. This was much smaller little mark making, little hearts, sort of wiggly lines, dots and things like that. But you can see that's very subtle with the colour there. And I've got this one here, which was, I kind of drew leaf kind of shapes, very kind of abstract and rough, and then did the colours in like a streaky pattern going across in all greens. So to start off with, the first stage of the activity is to make up lots of different papers, and then once you've got a whole load, you can then start the next stage. I did also do a trial on plain paper to see what it would come out like, and you can see the process worked fine. It worked exactly the same, but you'll notice because the paper got wet, it kind of did crinkle up a little bit. So that's why I think the watercolour paper is better if you can get it, but if not, it will work just fine, as you can see from this one. So once you've got all your selection of papers, let's bring those back in there so we can use them. you can then start creating something from them. Now I've made a couple of examples up. So my first suggestion is some really sweet little Easter cards, which, especially this time of year, I'm sure people would love to get a lovely card through the post. And you can see once they're cut out, they look really, really lovely. If you've got pre-made cards, they're great, but if not, you can make your own, or you could just stick it on a postcard and do it that way. The other suggestion of something you can make is a really sweet little garland. Oh, sorry, a really sweet little garland for the window or for kind of around the home as well. So now I'm going to show you how to make these. They're really simple, but I'll do a quick how-to and show you that stage as well. So the first thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get some stencils of egg shapes, and I'm going to show you how to make them. Really, really easy. Just get a scrap of paper, fold it in half like so, and I'm going to try and do a medium one here, so kind of in between these two sizes. So along the folded edge, so you can see my two open ends are here, this is my folded edge, you're going to roughly sketch out half of an egg shape. And these don't need to be too perfect. Once you're happy with it, grab your scissors and then cut it out. Get rid of this bit here, and then what you can do is then open up your egg. Check you're happy with the shape. I think this one's maybe a little bit too pointy, so if you're not happy, you can just fold it back over. There we go. And then you've got an egg shape. You can label these up if you want to, or you don't have to. So then you can then use these to cut out from your paper. So you're going to choose what paper you want to use. I'm going to use this really bright colourful one here. And then we can trace around it to get our shapes. So obviously whenever you're cutting out, ideally you want to kind of put it into the corner so you're not wasting lots of paper. Obviously if you cut it out here, seems a bit of a waste. So if you can, try and go from the edge. Use a pencil just to roughly trace around the outside. Now I'm doing mine a little bit bigger than my template. So when I cut it out, I'm going to cut just inside the lines, which means none of the pencil marks will show up on my finished egg. Okay, so move this off to the side, and then you can see, you might be able to just see, I've got a little template there that I can follow. So then grab your paper scissors. And obviously, if you're a young child doing this, you might want to grab a parent to help with this bit. But as I said earlier, it's a really nice family activity to kind of all do together. So take your time, make sure you get nice smooth curves. Perfect. And obviously any paper that's not used, keep it. Use it for scrapbooking, use it for making collages. It's such a lovely textured paper, pattern paper now. It seems a shame to waste it. So do pop it in your craft box and you can kind of reuse it. So once we've got that, we're going to grab one of our card blanks. Like I said, if you can get these, they're great. And basically they're pre-folded, which makes making cards really easy, and they come with envelopes ready to go. And then you can sort of stick it on. Now you can use a Pritt stick, but I find because I've used this really nice textured paper, it doesn't stick that well, which is why I'm going to use double-sided tape. I just found it made it stick a little bit better. So tear the tape off, and then you're going to put it around the edge and try and get it as close to the edge as possible. If you don't, it just means that the egg will kind of curl up from the edges. So we need a little bit more. And you can see most double-sided tape you can just tear rather than cutting it, which makes it a bit quicker. You can see with this little bit that's come off the edge, I'll show you how to fix that bit up, and we'll just put that bit in the middle to save wasting it. So this is the fiddliest bit. So to get double-sided tape off, you will kind of want to slightly curve the card and try and get the corner of your nail underneath the top layer and then peel it off. And then the sticky side of the tape will stay stuck to the paper and you're peeling the top level off. So just go around in a circle. And this bit here where it's coming off the edge, if that happens, don't worry. Peel it off as usual. And then just fold that bit of tape back under so you can't see it anymore. So keep going around. Helps if you've got a little bit of nails to do this bit. And there we go. We've now got tape all the way around the outside of our egg. And we can get our card and decide where we want to put it. So push down firmly to make sure it's all stuck on. You can put multiple eggs on, you can do other little drawings around it, it's completely up to you. I'd suggest then grabbing a pen and kind of adding some extra detail onto it. So I'm just going to do some little lines around the eggs. There we go. It's worth mentioning, if you try and draw on top of the eggs, certain pens might struggle because of the wax on there. It'll be a little bit tricky to draw on it. So if you're not sure, try on a bit of scrap first. You know, these little bits around the corners. Try on that first and see. But there we go, a really lovely Easter card that I'm sure anybody would love getting in the post. And you can obviously write your own message inside. If you wanted to do the garland, let me get this one back out. This is when you need a length of string or wool. It doesn't really matter what you use. Go with what you kind of got at home. I've got this nice kind of turquoise colour wool, so I thought was perfect. So what you're going to do is, once you've got all your eggs cut out, here's one I've got kind of all ready to go. You're then going to get your hole punch. I've got a sort of single one, but you can just use a normal one, that's fine. And just make 2 little holes near the top, like so. And then on the end of your wool, this is why you need the masking tape, just put a tiny little bit of it round the end, a bit like a shoelace, especially if a child's doing this, it just makes it that much easier. Then I'm going to go up through the back and then back through again, and then pull the wool through until it's where you want it to be. If you want to, you can put little bits of tape on the back to stop them from moving, but I'm not going to worry with my one. And when you've got to the end, you just need to make a little knot to kind of tie it off. So make a loop, wrap it around your finger, through the hole, pull tight, and then just cut off the excess. And then you've got a really sweet, simple little garland that can go up in the window or around by your table, ready for Easter. So there we go, that's the activity for today. Like I said, the possibilities are endless. They don't just have to be Easter themed. They could be, you know, general crafting, birthday cards, any kind of decoration at all. But you can get some really lovely effects and some really nice results. So yeah, I hope you enjoyed the activity suggestion for today. If you do have a go and make any, please do share your results with us. We'd love to create an online gallery of things that people have made at home inspired by our tutorials. So if you have a go and you make some, yeah, send us a link or tag us in a picture and we'd love to share them. And I hope you enjoy. Happy Easter. Bye.